Now, on the USOIL spot, we have been quite profitable in the last 24 hours where we had a very beautiful selling opportunity that presented itself right below the $69.50 level. So I would like us to quickly run through what our expectations were at the beginning of the week. What did we see on this chart, 1 hour chart, that made us to consider selling the USOIL spot? So right here at the beginning of the week, the first thing we observed was how price action was initially caught within a range just between the $70 level and of course the $69 area to give us an insight into the level of indecision in this particular market. And in fact, one of the things we normally do whenever we have this kind of simple flat channel is to wait patiently for a setup, for a signal to happen, which normally comes either in the form of a breakout of the resistance line to give us an opportunity to buy, or a breakdown of the support line to give us an opportunity to sell. Then in addition to this range that we had here was this trend line, which was identified after the connection of the series of higher lows here to give us a trend line to work with for this week. And you know how we use our trend lines in this situation. We agreed on Monday that if price action continues to trade above the trend line, we'll look out for more opportunities to buy above the $70 area. But if price action at any point in time breaks down and retests the trend line, we all agreed that we are going to be getting ready to sell. And in fact, this was exactly what happened. Prior to our live session yesterday, we saw how price broke down, retested the trend line, and it was at this point we had our first sell position for the week. And in fact, we rode the move all the way to the downside, as during the live session yesterday, we were around here during the live session yesterday, and I told us all that for those who had missed out on that breakdown of the $69.50 level, we are going to be waiting for price action to either come back to retest structure at the $69.50 level or the $69 area to give us an opportunity to join the trend continuation to the downside. And if you had marked your levels out, the $69 area here would have triggered a sell opportunity to push price to the downside. And since then, we saw how price action moved over 170 pips coupled with the first position we had. So we were able to scoop close to about 300 pips on the USOIL spot for this week, which is not a bad start to the week. And for those who have been part of this profitable journey so far, well done to you for being on standby to have caught this opportunity. Now, if you are still in a sell position right now, it is quite appropriate that you move all stop losses to secure your current position at this point. Personally, I'm already out of this trade, as I had an opportunity to sell below the $67.55 level as at this point here, and I also sold at the breakdown of this trend line this morning, and since then I moved my stop losses and I have been taken out of that position. So once again, well done to everyone who has been part of this trade. And if you still have a sell position running, I think it's appropriate that you close your position right now, and let's see how we are going to be getting ready for today's trading session. So with that being said, let's dive into what is really going on in this market at this particular point in time and how we intend to maximize our trading opportunity today. And well, before I go into the details here, I would like us to scale a little bit into a higher time frame where we want to look at things from an holistic point of view. And most importantly, I want to refresh our memories as regards to the setup we identified on the higher time frame, which is going to be a major factor in determining how we are going to be positioning ourselves ahead of the New York session. Now, right on the 4 hours time frame, if you remember vividly, if you have been with us here since Monday, you will notice that on the 4 hours time frame, we were able to identify a simple setup which took into consideration the activity of price action since the beginning of this month. And one thing we saw here at the beginning of the week was how price action has been ranging between the $73.50 level and the $67 $60.50 area since the beginning of this month, which further gives us an insight into the level of indecision in this market. As you can see, as soon as buyers got into that area around the $73.50 zone, we saw how sellers jumped in to negate all bullish attempts to break through that level. The same thing also happened around the $67.50 level. As you can see, since the beginning of this month, we have seen how sellers have been finding it difficult to break through this structure. The first attempt came in here at the beginning of the month. We saw how buyers negated the sellers' pressure. We saw the same thing happen here during the second week of this month. And during the course of the previous week, we saw how price action came in and rejected that area with a strong hammer candle, which from a technical standpoint is a sign that buyers are still very present at this juncture. And if you look at what happened yesterday following, despite the strong bearish engulfing candle, as you can see here, bringing price back into that demand zone, we saw another level of buying pressure around this area, which further emphasized the strength of the buyers at this particular point. Now, you would agree with me that we are at a critical point in the market right now where price action is currently finding a consolidation phase between the $68.20 level and the $67.55 area, just right above or within that demand zone identified at the $67.50 zone. Now, with the situation we have here, and for the fact that price action is sitting on a very strong demand zone, it is quite reasonable that we look out for buying opportunity at this point, as the demand is very, very high when price gets into the $67.50 level. And if we begin to see structures on the lower time frame that supports the idea of buying, then definitely we want to be getting ready to buy. So these are one of the things we are going to be looking at when we scale down into the lower time frame. Then another thing that I would like to buttress here is the potentials of sellers too as well. And for me at this particular juncture in the market, I would rather want to see price action take out the demand zone here, that is breaking through the $67.50 level to give me a signal that sellers are likely going to be pushing price further to the downside. And if this happened, coupled with a retest of structure, then we would have no other choice than to be part of a bearish move to the downside. So, but at this point in time, price action still remains above that demand zone, then it quite makes a whole lot of sense to look out for buying opportunities above this demand zone. Now, going into the New York session, we want to find out key structures that we are going to be using to guide our trading activities for today. And in order to do that, we are going to be scaling down into the 1 hour time frame, where I've been able to identify a simple setup that we are going to be using to manage our trades for today. Now, right here on the 1 hour time frame, so I will just zoom this in a little bit so that we can see things clearly. Now, if you look at what has been happening in this market since the last trading hours of the New York session yesterday, it is quite obvious that price action has been choppy, caught within a phase between the $68.20 level and the $67.55 area to emphasize the level of indecision at this particular point in time. And for the fact that we are anticipating the speeches from the major representative of the central banks across the main economics in the world, we might likely be seeing a sign that participants in the market are looking forward to a catalyst or a comment that will send some signal that will bring volatility or liquidity into the market to drive price movement. So with the situation here with the flat channel we've identified here, you know how we do it whenever we have this kind of flat channel. We want to wait patiently for new structures to mature, give us a signal in the form of either a breakout of the resistance line for an opportunity to buy, or the breakdown of the support line for an opportunity to sell. Now, with the situation we have here, I told you I had a sell position. I took advantage of this move before I was taken out with a modest size of profit after seeing this impulsive move to the downside. And one thing we acknowledge on the 4 hours time frame is how we saw a sharp rejection of the zone, leading into something that looks like an engulfing bullish candle, revealing that buyers are still present around this area. So with this situation we have here, personally, I had a buy stop order above the $68.20 level, where I am hoping that the move will continue to the upside. So at this point in time, above the $68.20 level seems most appropriate to look out for buying opportunities in this particular market. Then in order to make things a little bit easy for us to manage this trade if price action continues to the upside, have been able to identify a trend line that we can use to guide our trading activity for today. And this was as a result of connecting the series of higher lows. As you can see here, we can see we had a couple of higher lows here in the last 12 to 15 hours or so, giving me an idea that we might be seeing a bullish momentum at this point. So I would like to emphasize this trend line by giving it a 2 pixel so that we can emphasize its importance at this particular point in time. So what this simply means is that as long as price action remains above this trend line, we shall feel comfortable in our buy position, while we also look out for more opportunity to maximize the potential of this move. So anywhere above this trend line, so we have a key level now. You want to mark these levels out on your chart. As long as price action remains above this trend line, we feel comfortable in a buy position. And we also have a key level at the $68.20 level, where it shares a beautiful confluence. So let's see how price action plays out. Anywhere above the structures is what we are looking for to buy the US All Spot for today. Now, if price action continues to the upside, I think we still have the privilege of maximizing the potential of this bullish momentum, as we have key structures. Remember, don't forget that we have the $69 area here, which was initially our support line at the beginning of the week, where we were seeing buying pressure around that area. So it's more of a buyer's territory at this point before the breakdown retest happened here. So if price action continues to the upside here, then a breakout retest will definitely give us more opportunity to maximize the bullish move to the upside. And if price action goes on to break out of our key level at the $69.50 level and the $70 area, we'll definitely be having more opportunity to add more position to this trade. So let's see how price action plays out. As long as price remains above the trend line and the $68.20 level, we hold on to a bullish bias in this particular market. So that is what we are going to be looking at to buy the US All Spot for today. Now, you know how we do it in this community. In as much as we're looking out for a particular buyers in this market, we also want to keep tabs with the potentials of the sellers too as well. And considering the fact that since the beginning of this week, this market has been more of selling, what are we going to be seeing on this chart that will make us change our bias from bullish to bearish? Well, at this particular point in time, I remember I told you of how we are sitting on a very strong demand zone, just right within that $67.50 area, a very strong demand zone, as you can see, which I shared with you on the daily time, on the 4 hours time frame. Personally, for me to consider selling the US All Spot today, I would rather want to see price action break through that demand zone at some point, continued selling pressure below the structure here before considering joining a bearish move to the downside. So if we are going to be selling the US All Spot for today, we are not going to be doing that unless we have a breakdown retest at least of that $67.50 area to join that momentum to the downside. So we want to mark these levels out and then wait out and see how price action will be playing out in the next couple of hours. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the comment section.